Yo, what's up guys? Mike from Junk 90s got a grading preview today for y'all. Got a small submission for that 1980s PSA special we're gonna highlight here. So we're gonna see these cards, how we think they're gonna grade, and then what those cards go for in the grades we think or slash hope we're gonna get. And at the end, we're gonna do a deep dive into grading on one of those cards. So I hope that will be educational for y'all. This time, the deep dive is gonna be on this 1989 score, Barry Sanders. So stick around for that. Anyway, let's get started. So this is the first one we got, 1989 score Barry Sanders. I think most likely this will be a 9. So the main issue with this one is the corners. It'll be a little tough to see, but they're just not quite perfect. So you can see I'm gonna put my finger behind it right here. It's just a little bit off. That one's looking pretty good. That one's got a little touch of white, and that one's just not, it's hard to see on here, but it's just not perfectly rounded. But the rest of this thing's amazing. So, I mean, it's got a shot. I've seen worse cards than this 10 before. But this is a tough grade in a 10. So I'm guessing this one's going to be a 9. That's what we're going with. Here we go. Barry Sanders. We're going to estimate a 9 right there. Next up, Deion Sanders. Yes, also in that draft class. This one is probably going to be a 9 also. It's got a shot at a 10. Corners, edges, surface are all 10 candidates for those subgrades. They all look amazing. But the centering is just borderline a 10. So I'm thinking they're probably going to, it's slightly, depending on what measuring utensil they use compared to one that I used, it could be 10 or just below it at the top of a 9. So I think this one will probably be a 9. But pretty happy with that, man. A 9's a fine grade in this one. Excuse me, I'm skipping over one of the things I promised I would do. So this card in a 9 is auctioning for like, 15 to 30 bucks. So at this $15 price point, it's definitely worth the risk of, only getting a 9 and breaking even when this 10 is worth, $500 to $700. So that's the kind of one you should, I would definitely roll the dice on. Same with that Barry Sanders right here. The 9, I mean, a 9 is a great grade for this one. It's like around $100. If it does happen to 8, it's still about 50. But guys, take shots if they got a shot at a 10 and you'll break even on a 9. Like, just go for that. That's always, I mean, to me, that's always a good play. Because this, if it does 10, this Barry Sanders is over 1,000. So if you do get, a grader who's in a good mood, or you just thought it was worse than maybe deserves to be, you're going to be, nicely rewarded for it. So I always recommend doing that. Next up, Troy Aikman, a couple really nice rookies in this class. This is going to be, I think, a 9 or a 10. Very nice looking card. It's tough to ever really put, there we go, 9 or 10 on the Deion, 9 or 10 on the Troy. It's hard to really, call your shot on a 10 with any of these, because sometimes the grader just like sees something different than you do, or they're just being a little bit harsh on it, or just the gem rates on these are just not high enough like they are in ultra modern, where you can be like, oh yeah, these will definitely 10, or they have like a 50-50 shot. Send these in like feeling good about the 9, and then if you hit the 10 on 1 or 2 of these, you get to feel really good about it. So like this, same thing for the Aikman. This in a 9 is like about 40 bucks. So you feel pretty good. You get a small profit, especially with the lower PSA submission cost in this one. And if it does hit a 10, it's going between $500 and $700. So you'd feel really, really good about that. So that's what we got for this Troy Aikman. Looks amazing. I think it's got a decent shot at a 10. Probably will 9, just playing the numbers, but definitely the kind of thing that I like to roll the dice on. Derek Thomas, here we go. I just wanted to send this one in because he was such a master sack artist, and it felt wrong to me sending in the Barry and the Deion and the Troy, but leaving out Derek Thomas, just because his card doesn't go for as much. I'm a huge fan of his. If this 9s, it's going to be about 15 to 20 bucks. So I guess we break even or take a small loss on this. If it does hit a 10, it's 150 to 200 bucks. So this is the kind of stuff I like to send in for 90s when they, if they can move quickly, and then you got a good shot at a 10 being 150 to $200. I love sending that kind of stuff in. The only problem is I don't think this is a realistic shot at a 10, because this corner is probably the worst corner out of any of these first 4 cards from that 89 score set. The rest of the card is looking real sharp. But I think it's probably, I would even say an 8 or a 9. I don't think it is a 10 shot, but this is one of those where it's kind of like I want to have fun and roll the dice. So we're going to say 8 or a 9. And I just didn't feel right. Guys, this is all about fun. It's not always about a business decision. And this one, I was just kind of like, man, I'd feel better sending this one in along with the 3 other studs from that draft. So that's what we got on that 89 score, Derek Thomas. Here we got an 81 Topps Dr. J. I think this is probably going to 9. Shot at an 8, though. I don't think it has a realistic shot at a 10. It's possible, but I think the main problem is this bottom edge. I don't know how easy, again, you're going to be able to see it. It's just always tough. This bottom edge, you can probably see a little bit of that chipping right there by my finger now. It's just a little too tough, I think, to get that 10. I would love for this thing to get a 10 because if it does, it's like I'm seeing it go for like $1,200 to $1,500. A 9 I'd still feel really good about. That's like 75 to 100. 8 would be a little disappointing. I think that would be an undergrade. That'd be about 25 to 40 bucks. But I think most likely a 9. Could 8 outside shot at a 10, but like a 9, you're feeling pretty good about this one. The main issue with this one is, like I said, the edge is going to prevent, I think, from being a 10. Same with this centering up here. It just like it widens as you go from left to right. It still maintains, pretty good, centering in terms of the specs that it hits. I think it was just below a 10 centering grade actually for, top to bottom centering. But when you have something that like widens, I've seen PSA give it a little bit of a hit. So this one I think will probably 9, maybe it will 8. I'm still trying to figure out exactly how these guys grade surface on here, because if you put this thing really under the light, you can start to find some blemishes and imperfections. I did a quick post on a Larry Bird card on my Instagram where it has this tiny little, I don't even know what to call it, like circling imprint. I doubt you're gonna be able to see it through this plastic, but Julius has one actually within the black in the armpit, about the same size. Now Larry got a 7, but I've seen other imperfections like that on cards that don't get graded quite as harshly, so I don't even know if that's what really did it. But man, surface is really a tough thing to get a read on, and but an important thing to get a read on because it counts just as much as the other subgrades. So this one, I think probably a 9, maybe an 8. Don't think it's really going to be a 10. I would love it to be a 10. It's a nice card, but we will get this one back, and maybe we'll do an extra analysis on this one if it gets an unusual grade, but I think probably a 9. Brett Hull, I don't know if I've posted the deep dive on this one. I did a separate deep dive on this one because this is actually a crack and a resub. Check out that video if you haven't already. This got an 8. I was pretty unhappy with it because this card is really, really nice. I go into it a little more on the video. I think it's probably a 9, just because it got an 8 before. I don't know why this thing would 10, but it's got, the centering is amazing on this, and it's really a nice card. So this one, we're going to say probably a 9, could 8. We'll see the consistency on the grader. It's always nice doing videos when you crack and resub because you get to see, how much these guys do, inject subjectivity in there and how much one grader to the next, the same company can disagree on what something is. And you sometimes wonder the same grader day to day, hour to hour. So anyway, this one I think will be a 9, possibly an 8, who knows? But that's my plan for this one. If it 8s, it's 20 to 30 bucks. If it 9s, it's 50 to 80. Didn't write down the 10 because I don't think it will, but here we go. Next, we got 4 Fred McGriffs. So my dad had a lot of, he did some card investing back in the 80s, and Fred McGriff was one of the guys that he, took a flyer on, and he bought a lot of Don Russes, but he also bought a lot of Leafs. There must have been about 100 in there. I got a gem mint on one of them at PSA, got another gem mint at one at Beckett. It's funny. You might notice the centering differs, is a little hint if you ever come across one of these between BGS and PSA. But these ones have very nice PSA centering on them. So this first one will go Fred McGriff 1. I would not send some of these in, except that this is a $15 per card grade, and the 9s can get you like 50, 75, 100 bucks sometimes. The 8s I expect would probably break even, so I'll take the 50-50 shot on these getting 9s. I think they're more likely to be 9s, the group of these, but we'll say borderline on that. So this first one, 8 or a 9. Top edge is, and you see this on all the McGriffs that I have, just a little bit chippy. Don't know how easy you'll see that. Looks like the camera's having trouble focusing on it. A little bit chippy. And then this one just has, bottom left corner right there. I think you can see that. It's like going a lot of focus, but that little bit of white right there, I think you can see. That's probably, that should keep it from being a 10, but I've seen worse cards 10, but I think it's a 9. Well, excuse me, that one's not going to 10 because the centering was not 10. That was a 9 centering, but this one, 8 or a 9. Here we go. Second Fred McGriff. Gorgeous centering on this one, but edge again. The top edge is a little bit chippy on all these, and the top 2 corners, especially on this one, have a little bit more whitening than I would like. This one is going to be an 8 or a 9. This is Fred McGriff number 2. This one's number 1. 8 or 9 on this one. Next, Fred McGriff, again, chippiness on the edges, and again, some corner, just some kissed up corners in these ones should prevent it from, I don't think this one had, no, the next one had amazing centering. This one will be an 8 or a 9 again. Did not have 10 centering. This one, I'm going to put down as I think this one will be a 9 because the centering is so nice that it's going to, I didn't think any of the last ones would 10 either, but one of them did. So who knows, but this one I would have said 10 or had a good shot at a 10, decent enough shot at a 10 if it wasn't for that extra bit of whitening. So you'll definitely get like bumped down by PSA for quantity of whitening along the edge, but you also will get bumped down a little for depth of the whitening. That's just a little bit much, I think, but this thing has amazing centering, like 10 centering on this. So I think that will prevent it from being 8. I don't think anything's really defective enough about this card to give it an 8. I think this should be a 9. And who knows? I've seen cards that have slight blemishes like this that I would think would prevent it from being a 10 end up being a 10. So it wouldn't shock me if this one got a 10. Guys, people always talk about Beckett being, the easiest to get 10s in or whatever. No, guys, Beckett and PSA have the same percentages of gem mint cards, and everyone complains that like the min gem BGS card is an inferior card to PSA 10. That is false. Numbers I've run on these, I think like 50 or 60% of BGS cards, gem mint cards, are min gems. So that is a major crossover between the PSA 10 and the min gems. So if you were to say that this edge could still be a 9 with that, or the edges as a whole are a 9 even with that, and the rest of this is 9.5 or better, then you would say that this is a gem mint quality card. So I think this one has a shot at it. I'm not going to put it down there because I don't think that it will, especially sometimes when you send in series of these cards, and if they start seeing 8s on here, they are not going to want to all of a sudden give this thing a 10. I had that just happen with some 80, 81 Topps basketball that I sent in, where 2 cards I thought were at worst 9s, 10 candidates, because the other cards, I don't know for sure, but I suspect the other cards in there were 8s. I knew they were going to be 8s. I sent them in knowing that, but they're, it was like a Moncrief and a Maurice Cheeks rookie card, and a Bill Walton and a Dr. J, where in 8s, they're profitable cards, but all of a sudden they start seeing 8s, and then to them, everything is an 8. I've seen it with my Kobe's before. It's subjective, guys. These things happen. Just know how the game is played. I could see that affecting how this one is graded. Maybe I should not put it forth. You know what, man? I'm going to bump this one up. Let's test this theory. I'm going to bump this one up. That will be number 2 in the submission, and this will be number 3, and this will be number 4. So this is going to get submitted second. No, this is going to be the first one. This is going to be the first one he sees. If they actually go numerically through that submission, I want that to be the first one he sees. So this is going to be number 1 now. Number 1. Number 2, number 3, and that one is number 4. So maybe he'll see that and give it a 10. Coming off of these, maybe not. Who knows? But man, whatever. Let's mess around. Let's have some fun. Let's see what we can do. Let's put the odds in your favor. So, anyways, guys, that's it for this segment. So that's it on the price. Excuse me, I didn't even tell you the price of the cards. 8 for a Fred McGriff, I actually didn't look up the auctions. 9s I've been seeing go anywhere from like 50 to 100, and the 10, the last couple of comps have been 11, 12, $1,300. So that's, you know, the hope when you send in some of these Leaf McGriffs. So anyway, next we're going to move over to the grading table and do a deep dive on this Barry Sanders. So stick around for that, guys. And if you got any questions, throw it in the comments, and keep your eyes peeled for this next video, because we will be doing the review on this one. So anyways, guys, stick around for that Barry Sanders, and yeah, meet you over there at the table. Peace. All right, guys, over at the grading station right now, as promised, a breakdown of the Sanders. I'm pretty sure this one's gonna be a 9. Doesn't really have a good shot at a 10, maybe like a really outside one if the grader's feeling generous, but like this one just looks like a 9 to me. No major damage. Major, we'll say minor, significant minor enough for it to really knock down to an 8. But this one I feel pretty confident is gonna be a 9. So what we're seeing on this one, measure the centering. This one's like 2.8 millimeters on this side, 3.6 I think on this side, so it's just shy of what you would want for a 10, just outside of 45, 55, that being like one of the immediate disqualifiers for this thing being a 10, but you never know. The other piece that you know, for me kind of stands out is the corners on this, or just like, I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it. I'll try to throw my hand there as a background, but like that top corner is just like a little too, just not quite sharp enough, and same with this bottom corner. I don't know if you're gonna be able to see that on here, it's really too bad. But there's just like a touching of white. That might be a little clearer for you to see, just like a touching of white there, and that will probably prevent it from being a 10. I've seen cards like that 10 if everything else is pristine, but like those ones, just, it's gonna be a little bit too much in my opinion to make this thing a 10, especially with the centering. It just falls below the 45, 55. If there was 45, 55, I would say it's got enough of a shot, but I'm still pretty happy with this one if it hits a 9, because it's still a nice profit off of what I got it for. So it justifies the grading fee and the effort put into sending it. So we'll take a quick look at the service, just because, you know, we're gonna be thorough. We're gonna do this together. No major service flaws that I've seen. We'll look at it one more time here, but service is very, very clean. I don't see any scratches. 90s cards, you stop kind of seeing that, like, you know, or 90s paper cards anyway, the manufacturing. This is 89, sure, this is 89, but like when you get to that era, the surface is much better than it was in the 70s, in the early 80s. I don't know if they changed their manufacturing processes and how they press the ink on the paper. Couldn't tell you. Might be a nice subject for another video, but the surface issues that you run into, there's just far fewer of them. There isn't really any blistering, or isn't really much dimpling. I mean, this one is pretty free of scratches, so I would say free of scratches. I don't even want to say pretty free. This is a very, very nice card, but pretty sure this one will be a 9. I'll be happy if it's a 9. I'll be a little bit mad if it's an 8. Doesn't seem like that would be a fair grade. If I would put a lot of money on this one being a 9. Would love it if it came back a 10. A 10 is worth like $1,000, but what you gonna do? Still a very nice card. Can be happy when you get profits, and I think that's what we're gonna get with this one. So that'll do it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and you know, click, follow, subscribe, do whatever you gotta do. Get more tips, get better at this game. See y'all. Peace.